Good evening, everyone. I'm Bernie Misio.
And I'm Sunny Smith.
And tonight on 5 o'clock news, we are discussing conflicts in the Middle East.
The biblical promised land led to the conflicts between those who wanted a more modern, westernized style society and those who wanted to follow traditional Islam within the political movement. The British Empire then acquired to mandate over Palestine, which at the time, Palestine included all of Israel and today's occupied territories.
To further your understanding, it all began with Israel becoming a state. When Britain took control of the area after World War II, the Balfour Declaration was created, which supported the establishment of Jewish national homeland in Palestine, which then led the British to leave the area after World War II, and the United Nations took their place and divided the nation into two parts, which then led to the Jewish declaring existence of the Jewish state of Israel.
Once Israel was created, conflicts arose with the Arab states, the first of many Arab-Israel wars starting on May 15, 1948. 6 Islamic states invaded Israel. After a few months of fighting and strong support from the U.S., Israel won. Then the Suez Crisis began in 1956. After the peace settlement, the canal was granted to Egypt.
Then in 1967, the Six-Day War broke out. Once Israel was threatened, they broke out and defeated Egypt, Iran, Jordan, and Syria. In just a week, their success brought new areas to its control.
Then, the surprise attack led by Anwar Sadat in 1973 began the next war. It didn't last long until ending with Israel led by their Prime Minister, Golda Meir, fought back and won control of much of the territory it had lost. Now for a short interview with Golda Meir.
Hello, Golda Meir. We want to know a little bit about yourself and the experiences you had during the conflicts that arose in the Middle East.
I was born on May 3rd, 1898 in Kiev, Russia. I began my life by immigrating to Milwaukee, Wisconsin. As a child, I was already involved in the whole world, I would say so myself. I formed the American Young Sisters Society shortly after graduating. I moved to Denver, Colorado with my sister and her husband. And at that time, I became an active Zionist. I then represented the General Federation of Labor in Israel. I then took over as head of the political department of the Jewish Agency during the incarnation of the Masharet. That is when I became the principal negotiator between the Jesus and Palestine and the British mandatory authorities. Then I traveled to the United States and raised $50 million, which we used to purchase arms in Europe for the young country. On May 14, 1948, was one of the 24 signatories of the Israeli Declaration of Independence. I cried after I signed out. I had become a minister ambassador on September 2nd, 1948. Then, in 1949, I served as a minister of labor. I carried out welfare state policies, orchestrated the integration of immigrants into Israel's workforce, and I introduced major housing and road construction projects. Then I became a prime minister on March 17, 1969. After the sudden death of Levi Eshtetz, the Suez Crisis, the Six-Day War, and the surprise attack, I took it upon myself during my visit to Washington to agree with Henry Kissinger's peace proposal, where Israel would accept Egyptian sovereignty over all Sinai, where Egypt would accept Israeli presence in some of Sinai strategic positions.
Continuing on in 1977, Egyptian leaders signed a peace agreement with Israel Prime Minister Menachem Begin. In the agreement, Israel returned the Sinai Peninsula back to Egypt, and in return, Egypt recognized Israel as a nation.
Despite all the efforts, Israel and the Palestinians have not made peace. Palestinians do not agree with Israel's rule and want a nation of their own. The PLO, led by Yasser Arafat, became a leading group in the struggle of self-rule.
In the early 1990s, the two sides stepped toward peace. Israel agreed to give control of an area called the Gaza Strip and of the town of the Yericho. The agreement was known as the Oslo Peace Accords. Yitzhak Rabin was the leader who signed the agreement and wore as a nation in 1995. In 2003, the two sides began working on a new peace plan pushed by the U.S. leaders.